This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, guys. So we are going to touch base all these points like on-premise data center, managed data center, virtualization, what is cloud computing. So in the first slide, like what is like on-premise data center, there are many challenges to maintain the on-premise data center. It is a huge cost effective to the clients to maintain it. So what are the things makes up, cost too much of cost to the clients? Let's talk about that. Slowly, I'll come to the cloud area. Okay, first let's understand what on-premise is actually and what they do to maintain the on-premise data center. So to maintain the on-premise data center, they need a dedicated space housing infrastructure. Basically, like data center should not be accessible by anyone. It should be isolated, and like it should have sufficient space for your infrastructure basically. So it should be dedicated space in your office or somewhere. Maybe they'll have their own data center. Every company will have their own data center based on the research they'll do, which will not hit by the natural calamities basically. So next, high bandwidth internet provider. So basically, their data center is somewhere, and the people are working somewhere, the operation center. So they need to have a proper bandwidth, like alternate bandwidth as well. Like if one ISP is down, other ISP should also alternatively should be available to take that load immediately, and then application should not see any downtime that happened through the because of the any network outage. That they will go with the third party guys actually for that, getting the network connections from there to there, then data center. Maybe some, if it is a really good rich clients, maybe they lay out their own network cables. That is a different story. So but altogether they need to have a alternate, in network cables as well to give the like availability of the servers always. Software licensing, like on top of the servers what they have installing, they'll have to pay for that. Okay, that is something, people will pay millions of dollars for just for the software licensing itself in the real world. That's how the companies work basically, because they need a lot of servers and softwares to run the business. Like front end server, middlewares, back end, including all this, there are a lot of different softwares they use for different purposes in the corporate world. So for that licensing itself, they'll spend a lot of money on that area. Extremely redundant power source. Basically, the data center should be designed in such a way that, if the power is gone in that area, assume a case. If the power is gone, then you cannot go to the client saying that I lost the power in the data center, I cannot give you the data services. You cannot say that. It should be available 365 days, 24 by 7. So you cannot rely on the single, power supply, because power supply can be, shut down because of strikes in that area, or else floods, natural calamities, anything can cause that. So you need to have a proper UPS system. If UPS system is also running out of your power, you need to have a proper generators to supply the power to the servers, to so that nothing, you don't see any outage. So you need to design such a way that you need to be have all the alternatives. That dust-free controlled environment. Basically, you need to maintain the infrastructure within the data center that should be absolutely dust-free, because the servers are running 365 days and 24 by 7. They'll generate, they, if the dust is there in the atmosphere, it'll sucks that dust. Like when you reboot the server, it will not reboot. It will give a beep sound, it will not come online. You have to open the machine, you have to clean up the RAM, all the rest, and then start the machine. So this, that should be completely dust free, so they will keep a lot of equipment to take out the dust from the area basically. That's something that is should be taken care. If the dust is there, then server will not reboot. That will happen. Efficient cooling and air ventilation. Just now I said, like, we will be running the servers 365 days. They generate a lot of heat actually inside the data center. If you don't maintain sufficient cooling, then definitely the servers will crash. Because of there would be some temperature it can sustain, but the CPUs keep running, CPU fan is keep running, that will generate some heat actually. So they need to maintain 16 to 20 degrees of temperature within the data center always. If that is not maintained, there will be crash kind of, you will see that. That must be maintained. High physical security. Yes, you need to maintain your data should be protected from your competitors or someone wanted to damage your image, like you should be protecting your data center with the people who are holding the guns at your data center. That happens, like when big data centers are there, there will be physical security who actually protects your data center from other unauthorized people not to enter. Inter data center network. So one data center you cannot rely. One data center can go down because of many reasons, like natural calamities we cannot expect, right? It is not something, it is something unexpected, like floods, earthquake, and fire bonds. That kind of things you cannot expect. Anything at any point of time can happen. So that kind of thing happens to your data center, you lose all your data. So that will be the end of your story if you don't have a DR basically. So for every data center, you need to also have a DR site as well, another data center as well. You have to replicate the data. Whatever you're doing, all this you have to do at the DR as well. So these all points are making very expensive to the clients. It's not cheap basically to maintain all of this. Okay. So cloud is something ready-made infrastructure where you just go and build and use it kind of. You're not taking care of infrastructure, you're not taking care about the bandwidth availability, ISPs, all that you're not taking care at all. You're not taking care of any licensing. Actually, the licensing is included in the cost that is they have shown on the portal already. So power outages, you nothing, definitely don't care, and dust control, efficient cooling, all these completely taken care by the cloud. You just order how many servers you wanted and just use them. But when it comes to the on-premise, these are all biggest challenges for the people to maintain the infrastructure. It is a really big challenge. That's why they spend a lot of millions of dollars to maintain the infrastructure itself basically. Okay, this is something, for bigger clients, okay, they can maintain, they can build their own data center, like before the cloud was evolved. They're able to do it because they are generating that amount of revenue. But what about the small scale industries or mid scale industries? So managed instances, managed services basically before the cloud I'm talking about. The cloud AWS was evolved in 2006 basically, but 2007 it was implemented and it was given to the market. Before that, what used to happen? Managed services. There used to be local vendors, who used to build their own data center and sell the servers to the third party people. So they'll house the servers like this, like they'll build the servers like this, and they'll sell few servers to, like example, some small scale industry coming to the data center, and they're asking for 10 servers. They need the 10 servers to run their business. In that case, they only build their 10 servers and put those servers into specific their network, and like they seamlessly connect to that servers and they'll start working from there. So this is something third party. Third party means someone is housing your, their own infrastructure. You're going to them, you're ordering some set of servers for your business continuity basically. They are not capable of building their own data centers. They are relying on the third party, and third party people will manage your servers basically. Because of their revenues, they cannot afford to maintain the data warehouse basically. So let the data center manage the servers, host the server roles, and provide the LAN extension. So once the servers are created, they'll keep the servers in their network, the client network, so that the client machines can interact with the data center servers. So all benefits of data center as well as infrastructure administration will be maintained by the managed services guys itself. These were popular before the cloud was evolved basically. Before cloud was not there, before 2006 I'm talking about, whatever I'm discussing here. During that time, data center, the managed services are really popular during that time. But the limitation is, these people are, limited to the local. Basically they'll have one or two data centers. If your business is globalized, assume a case, they cannot give you the services because they don't have infrastructure everywhere. They're local, they are specific region, they'll cover, not all globe basically. That one of the drawback. So that time we did not had globalized, too many globalized, like businesses. But right now all are globalized because we have the cloud now, so we don't need to depend on many services. But before the cloud, these are the people used to give a cloud services, like it's like a cloud, local cloud kind of. Okay, so then virtualization also brought a very big revolution actually. It was started in 1999, roughly 2000 I would say. Before 2000, what used to happen? If you have to build a server for any kind of purpose, if example, one business will have a peak hours, the seasonal peak hours load on the server, when that will be there, you need to build a server in such a way that that server should take the load. But during the peak days or seasonal time, the load is coming, but other days you don't have load, the complete infrastructure is idle. So that kind of IT waste used to happen before 2000. I'm talking about before 2000. We used to build robust server for single application itself. That robust server will be capable of taking all the load during the peak hours. That designed that way. But what about the non-peak hours? Non-peak hours in a whole year, maybe you might be having 1 or 2 months or 1 week of load on that server because of the seasonal sales or whatever it is. Every business will have that kind of thing. But what about the rest of the period? So in that case, the infrastructure getting wasted. That's why the virtualization is highly implemented after 2000. Within a really big server, you can build multiple tiny servers where they use the resources as like a pooled services if they are not reserved. So if one machine is not using, other machine can come and use the resources and do the business kind of. You're utilizing the existing resources at maximum level. Basically you're not wasting the IT infrastructure, because virtualization enabled that kind of interaction with the IT devices. Basically I would say infrastructure devices. So this is something, another big resolution revolution brought into the market to reduce the IT cost as well as the infrastructure cost. Basically this is one of the biggest area, and where it was started in 2000, actually 1999 VMware Private Limited was introduced. That was also very good point you need to know, because before that people used to waste a lot of money on the IT area, where the utilization was really less. Then cloud, actually let's talk about the cloud. This is about the just for the understanding, guys. These are all information before the cloud. After the cloud, what are the benefits we are getting, why the rapidly people are migrating to the cloud, the reasons behind it, we'll talk about it actually. What is cloud computing? First we need to know what is cloud computing. Basically cloud computing is something, it is a open to anyone. Basically anyone can actually create their subscription, and then they will act, like there will be a free trial period for 1 month. After 1 month they'll activate it to pay as you go, and they can create n number of servers based on the demand, and then they can do the business. Basically it's on demand kind of, just it's open to public. Basically it's not restricted to any company at all. The cloud is like that. It is a use of remote servers on the internet to store, manage, and process the data rather than a local server, your personal computer. Basically, you don't have this servers into your infrastructure. It is Microsoft, or if it is a Azure, if it is AWS, it is a Amazon. So they're having the servers. You are doing the business from those servers basically. So cloud computing is a delivery of on-demand computing resources over the internet on pay-per-use basis. So like how many hours are using, how many servers are using, so based on that you are paying out your example. I need a server for 10 days because my business is going to have a peak season. I'll build a temporary servers and use for 10 days and destroy it after that because I don't need them, the load is gone down. So auto scale set, we have the discussion. Auto scale set means servers automatically build based on the load, automatically decommission based on the load. So that is something called auto scaling, like we have in the cloud. The server's capacity based on the load, it will detect and it will build the new servers. If the load is coming down, it will automatically destroy the servers. We have that configuration once we start the practicals. So cloud is actually dynamic, completely dynamic. So based on the load, it will build the servers on demand basis. And the period, what period you are using the server, for that period only you are paying. You're not paying for extra for anything actually. If it is on premise, you are buying a server, you're actually paying for it, and then you use it or you don't use it, you have to keep it in your infrastructure. That is something, unnecessary investment on that kind of area. Let's talk about deployment models, cloud deployment models. We have three deployment models. public, private, and hybrid. Public is something open to everyone. It's public clouds are like like Azure, Amazon, Google Cloud. There are DigitalOcean. There are many, if you name it. Roughly 20 cloud providers are there in the market. The popular are especially Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. These are the major contributors in the market at the moment. So public cloud available for everyone. Anyone can go and sign up for the services. Just they'll have to create their subscription and use the IT resources. As simple as it is. It is open to anyone in the world basically. Private cloud is something completely owned by some organization. No one else have authorization to enter into that network and do the stuff kind of. It is fully managed and owned by single organization basically. They cannot allow anyone because it is fully protected because of many firewall rules they have imposed on the network basically. Hybrid cloud, this is famous right now. So hybrid in the sense combination of public and private. Assume a case, we have a Flipkart and Amazon. During the big billion days, they'll get lots of load, unexpected load. How do they scale up? How do they scale up the load basically when they have such kind of unexpected loads? Basically, they spin off, some servers in the cloud for temporary purpose, and the servers will take up the load. Once the period is over, big billion days or whatsoever the period is over, they'll destroy all the servers from the cloud and they'll pay the period the servers have been used, not for the the complete server for all days basically. Azure is a hour based billing basically. It's minute based billing, not hour. AWS is a hour based billing. If I use for 10 minutes, I'll pay for 10 minutes only. If I pay half an hour only. It's a minute based billing basically. So people are using like that. So in the on-premise, 90% of the clients in the market are actually they're holding their data center as well as the cloud as well. They're moving some part of the business to the cloud, not completely they are moving to the cloud, but part, not like that is called hybrid cloud. So we are also in our company, like we are doing the same thing. We have 50% of the infrastructure into the cloud, 50% on the on-premise. We have both the combination of it. So our infrastructure called as a hybrid cloud basically. It depends, like how your company is moving out, like if they are seeing the benefits, maybe they move slowly to the most of the percentage to the cloud itself. So this is something you need to know: public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. Let's talk about the categories. This is something very important. This is where we spend a lot of time. Software as a service. Software as a service, as a infrastructure admin, you don't need to do anything in this area. Especially we are going to work in these two areas: platform as a service and infrastructure as a service, IaaS basically. These two areas we are going to discuss in detail in the throughout the course basically. So software as service is something, it's a ready-made, readily available services for the end users basically. Nothing you have to do on top of it to create that service. It is already predefined and designed and ready to use model. So if you have a Gmail, like you're just signing up and using the services, you're not doing anything, you're not managing anything from your end as an end user, you're just using the service. So that's comes under SaaS. I'm using the go to meeting. So go to meeting is just, I have installed, I'm using it. I did not configure, I did not maintain anything for the go to meeting. I bought this service. The go to meeting is a software as a service. It's not PaaS, it's not IaaS basically. Okay. If you are go to the Play Store, download any app, all comes under SaaS only. All Play Store apps comes under SaaS only. Just you're going to the WhatsApp, you're downloading and installing, using it. You're not doing anything, you're not configuring it, you're not maintaining it. As an end user, you're just using it. So all things, ready-madely whatever you use, it comes under SaaS only, where you don't do anything at all. It is already designed, it is maintained, and you're just using it as an end user basically. The as an admin, you don't do much in this area basically. So software as service, software deployed over the internet, has been around for a while. Web-based email, Hotmail, Gmail, or else, whatever you say, like whatever you use ready-madely. Like best example is Play Store. You download any app, install it, and use it. As simple as it is. Nothing you're doing on top of that. It is fully managed by someone who is giving that app service basically, not by you as end user, as a admin also, you don't have much scope to work in this area. PaaS, platform as a service. So cloud is a platform basically. You don't build any VM on top of the cloud. If I have to, like install a SQL server within the VM, I have to first build the VM, then within the VM I have to install it. But we have a PaaS SQL server as well. The PaaS SQL, it is a service on top of the cloud. You create a SQL server in the PaaS, it will create the SQL Server service on top of the cloud. It does not build any VM at all. You just have to use that name to connect. When you, if you have to connect, you have to open your IPs or you have to integrate with your domain. So we will see all of that in the further classes actually. So PaaS is something one of the biggest, like a discussion for us. Roughly, I'll take 10 classes on the PaaS itself, because PaaS is something very different when it comes to the administration when you compare to the on-premise. They are very different. Administrative methodologies are available in the PaaS especially. IaaS is very close, like administration when it comes to the on-premise and cloud as a SQL DBA. There are very few differences are there. I'm going to discuss that in the course. Basically, the PaaS is completely different. It's not at all, same like on-premise. It is fully actually, completely intelligent databases, and the administration wise, there are lots of differences. Security wise, monitoring wise, creation of wise, like whatever it is you call it, in there are many things we will do on the cloud area. Basically all are completely different operations, so there we will spend more than 10 class there. And IaaS basically is something very close to the on-premise. It's there are not too many differences, but there are few differences when it comes to the configurations. So that's something I'm going to cover in detail when we start the SQL operations. Okay, so let's conclude this. SaaS is something you don't do anything. It's a ready-made, readily available softwares for end users. They'll just use it as end users. And the PaaS is something you create the service, you manage the service, you like create the users permissions, you recover the databases, like you do all the performance tuning, you do like all the stuff what we do in the on-premise, a lot of things, but they are different, not like on-premise. So IaaS is absolutely like on-premise itself. The backup strategy is different, in the cloud. So how do we take the backup? How do we recover IaaS servers? All that when we start the SQL operations, I'll discuss there. But right now, you need to know the differences between what is SaaS, what is PaaS, what is IaaS, basically. So IaaS involves with a virtual machine, as simple as it. If you are building a virtual machine, it comes under IaaS only. You're building some resource. Within that resource, you are configuring what you wanted. All that comes under IaaS. PaaS is something you are just creating a service in the cloud. It does not build any VM basically. It just runs on top of the cloud. You don't have any control on the runtime. You cannot stop a service, a SQL Server service in the PaaS. You don't have any option to stop the service. It is fully managed by the Microsoft itself. Let's see this diagram, guys. I wanted to highlight this point. See, if it is on premise, you have to maintain your own networking. You have to design your own storage, servers, virtualization concept. You have to design your own Hyper-V, rules, how that service has to be built, all that. What voice you wanted, you have to choose. What middleware softwares, what is the runtime you can stop, start, whatever you wanted to do, and what data you wanted to put, what kind of applications you wanted. You have the full control on every segment. If it is IaaS in the cloud, example infrastructure as a service, you don't have any control on the network is a private IP. You can define your own networking for internal communication within the servers, within the cloud basically, not out of the cloud. If you're integrating with the domain, then you can talk outside of the cloud. That is a different story where we'll talk about in the AD integration with the cloud. We have that like eighth module, I guess. That something is different. So public IPs you cannot manage. It is completely under the Microsoft control. You cannot allocate a specific IP. The Microsoft will give you the IP. You have to log with a static IP configuration. Storage also, you just go there and give the number and save it. It'll build that storage automatically. From which LAN, how many actually, in the background, how many LANs are giving you the storage, you don't know anything. It is completely under Microsoft visibility. Servers also, you just in the drop down what OS you wanted, you just have to select it actually. So like you need to know what you are building, but you don't have any control how the server has been defined in the Hyper-V level. It is as per the Microsoft standards. Virtualization is also done by them. Only in the IaaS platform, you select what OS you wanted on the server. Once the OS is built, you wanted to install middleware, you wanted to install application services or database services, whatever you wanted to install, you can install. Runtime, you can define, you can start the server, you can start the server, you have the full control on that area. And you can manage your own data. Microsoft will not manage any of your data. Basically, it's your control. Application also, you have to build your own applications. Platform as service here, the OS is, we don't have any OS for the platform as services. Platform as a SQL server directly on, it will build on 2017 latest version. It will, you don't have any option to build a PaaS SQL server on 2016 or 2014 or 2012. You don't have any. It will build on directly on 2017. So you don't have any OS, option like you have to choose. It is runs on top of the cloud. You will not build any OS, any machine. Basically, it will directly run on top of the cloud. So downtime also, you cannot to maintain it. You cannot stop the SQL server in the cloud, in the past SQL server. Sorry. How do you do certain operations or maintenance, that we will talk when we start. Data, what sort of data, what kind of application you wanted to work with, that PaaS service is up to your business. Basically, none of your Microsoft business. Like, you created a service, you put whatever data you wanted. Basically, it's not Microsoft headache. Basically, so what kind of business you're doing, you will keep such kind of data. If you talk about SaaS, you're not doing anything at all. You're just, your everything is done by the Microsoft, the cloud provider. You just have to create that and then use it. Nothing, no configuration, just nothing. It's like an interface, and then use it as it is. Nothing you can do on top of that. It is already designed and configured. You have to use the way it is. Like, you have WhatsApp, you don't change any configuration, you use the features, not the configuration. Basically, so anything that is given as part of the SaaS, you cannot do anything on top of that. It is, you have to use the way it is. Basically, it is already predefined. You have to use the configurations how it was in the given by the provider. Basically, so anyone have any question in this area? Maybe I guess, if anyone has a question, just let me know, guys. This is something you need to know. The PaaS, SaaS, IaaS, there are differences, and you should know the differences by now. What exactly the SaaS, what exactly the PaaS, what exactly the IaaS. Anything that deals with the VM, anything that deals
Yeah,
with some infrastructure. Yeah,
Ravinder, in a past SQL is not a VM, right? It is a service.
it's a service. Exactly, it doesn't build any VM.
So we can't do anything backup, restore, and agent service. We didn't get anything right in past.
Right. Backups are completely automated by the cloud itself. We cannot configure backups. Backups are by default inbuilt on the database. When it is created, it will automatically take the backup. Weekly full backup, hourly differential, every 5 minutes log backup will be taken in the background. You cannot configure your backups. But recovery, you can do it. How do we do the recovery? All the things we will discuss when we start the SQL operations.
Okay,
That's
okay, Ravinder.
something, that something comes in the course. Basically, but this is something, like, you cannot even stop the SQL Server service. Basically, it just run on top of the cloud 365 days. There is no downtime. 99.99, and in a year there could be 3 to 4 hours downtime, not more than that, in the PaaS area. In IaaS, you have your own control, like whether you wanted to stop, start, whatever you wanted to do it. So these are, again, you have to take the databases backup, you have to restore. It is completely under your control, like on-premise, except the VM. Like, you have to patch the machine, you have to do everything. In the PaaS area, nothing you have to do. You don't need to do anything, patching, backups, all that. There are many tasks have been already taken care by the Microsoft. You have to do a lot of things. Nothing, like, DBAs will not lose a job even if you are going to the cloud. There are many things that DBA has to take care even if it is in the cloud. You'll see that. So any question anyone wanted to ask in this area, especially in this cloud and categories, because this
Yeah,
is something unique.
yeah, I have one doubt. Like, sir, in PaaS, it is built based on our requirement. If we give Microsoft, what is our
It's
business?
it's like a service. Actually, you're just creating the service. A database will have the, like, its own processing power. SQL Server is just a service to do the administration. SQL Server does not have any CPU power, any RAM power. You are creating a database. Database will have its own CPU power, RAM power. There are, like service tiers. You'll give the power to the database, not to the service. SQL Server. SQL Server service is just a service. On top of that, you create a databases. Right now, you don't understand that concept. It is something client requirement. How many users they are going to connect, how much of data is going to come, how much of power we need to give it to the database, all that depends on the business requirement. It's not something defined. It is absolutely, database to database is absolutely different. So we are going to talk in detail how the elastic DT pools will work, how the individual database will work, how we have to reduce the billing when it comes to the resources. How do we build based on, I'll discuss a lot of standards, okay, because we did a lot of standards to save the cost in our environment. So I'm working last since 4.5 years on the cloud. I know end to end, what we do in the cloud basically. I'm going to discuss each and every single point that we have in the cloud. No need to worry about that. So as a general, anything that you have, just let me know. Okay, if you don't have any questions here, let's move to the cloud benefits. What are the major benefits that we are getting out of cloud, especially so any business like are doing to get the revenue right out of it. They wanted to save a lot of money. Obviously everyone are, like no one will do the business for just for the charity people will do just save the tax, especially. Most of the people, some people may be willing to do that, I don't blame that, but thing is ultimately the business wanted to gain the profits at the end of the fiscal year, financial year, I mean to say. So the cost, how the cost is actually cost effective. The cloud is how it is cost effective. Absolutely no, like let's talk about that. Cloud computing is eliminated the capital expense of the companies by buying hardware software. Like if I wanted to set up my company in on-premise, I had to first buy infrastructure, I have to recruit the people, I have to gather all the network devices, connect them, install the domain, integrate them. A lot of work you have to do to build a certain small industry for startup company. So all startup companies are going to directly into the cloud nowadays because the infrastructure is ready-made available. You just create the subscription, like hire few people to start the business. As the business is growing, you can expand the resources. That is a different story, but you're not depending on anything to start the business nowadays. If it is a startup company, even if it is something established company also, for any reason they need the for certain computing resources for temporary basis. Again, they'll have to, if someone has to buy a server in the real like client environment. uh, Someone has to mute it. Satish, can you mute it? If you have question, do you have question?
No.
Just mute it. So actually, like if at all, if one server has to be deployed into the infrastructure, first, company will place the request with the procurement in the, every company will have a procurement team. Like procurement team will coordinate with the vendor for the specified hardware. Basically, the client, the company will approve for the resource to the procurement team. Procurement team will place the order with the vendor. Vendor will give that IT resource to the company. The Windows team or any infra guys will install the OS, integrate that server in the domain, and before that they'll add the servers. They'll give the IP which is that company network belong to, and they'll integrate with the domain. Then it will give to the product guy. Product guy will install it and then hand over it to the end user. This is a long process, right? It is a huge process involved to get a single server in the company. Yes, it is, because it's involved with cost. There is a finance team which will take care of all this process. So this is a long process. So when it comes to the cloud, you just go there and a few minutes it will build the server, whatever the requirement, whatever the configuration you wanted ready-madely, and then install it and give it to the business right away in 10 minutes, maximum an hour. You can make the server and hand over to the business. Basically, it's the speed of activities, as well as it is saving a lot of cost. Why? Because you are using the resource temporarily and then destroying when you don't want. If you are buying a resource, even you are using or not using, you are just paid and you have to keep it idle. That is wasted. Whatever the amount you invested on that device is wasted. So you are getting a cheaper cost on-demand basis in the cloud. Basically, that is one thing which is a huge benefit to the companies, though they are having their own data centers. For on-demand load, for temporary loads, people are using the cloud especially for that. Everyone have a footprint in the cloud nowadays, everyone in the market. At least few servers are running in the cloud as part of their business. Why? Because if you are running some servers in the cloud itself, then only you'll get the best benefits. Why best benefits? We have one more benefit there, I'll talk about it. Cost is, it's absolutely cost effective the company. Why? Because you are not maintaining anything, just you are building a server and paying for the server. All the background infrastructure maintenance will be taken care by the Microsoft. You're not paying anything. Clients don't need to maintain infrastructure, licenses, bandwidth, air conditioning, whatever they wanted. Basically, they're not taking care of anything. Just they are building a server and using, their purpose is done. So that is something very cost effective to the client, of course. Global scale. See, nowadays, any business you talk about nowadays, everyone are expanding, are growing globalized businesses. Any small scale industry you take up, almost everyone are trying to globalize their business to, why they are globalizing. You see, if you are dependent on one single area, maybe your business may not excel sometimes. That time you'll go under loss. If it is expanding the business all over the world, somewhere it will run, somewhere it will not run. That will balance your business. Basically, that's how the people are moving to the global. Any kind of business, people are moving to the global because of the normalization of the profits. Basically, some areas maybe they get the losses, so other places you'll get the profits. Altogether you will be at safer side. So the ability to scale elasticity. So I'm building my, expanding my business to the global, different countries and continents. So everywhere I cannot build my own data center. Everywhere I cannot build my own servers. It's impossible. Why? Because if I'm keep doing that, then I have to pay all my money to the IT infra maintenance itself. So cloud made real easy for that kind of requirements nowadays. Like, you go to any country, you have the cloud there. You build the servers ready-madely in any region where you are expand your business, and give the IT resources to the nearest to those people. See, if we are in India and the US based client is there, and you are keeping the server in US and serving the applications in the India example, then definitely the latency is really high, because the server is are allow all around the other side of the other part of the globe. So you will get the huge latency. So if you are keeping the servers nearest to the operation where the data is required, then the performance will be really higher. So the cloud is giving that flexibility. Wherever you have your business, you go there and build your infrastructure and give the data services to the local people from there itself, so that you are able to scale your business. You can give the IT resources comfortably anywhere in the globe nowadays because of the cloud. Performance obviously there. Why? Because you are putting the servers nearest to the people where they are actually needed the data. If we are in India, we are giving creating the cloud services in India itself, and India people are hitting the India cloud itself. So the network request where it is hitting in India server itself. So the distance is less. When distance is less, the response time also will be higher. The bandwidth also will matter. That is a different story. But your request is not going all over the other part of the globe, basically. So this, that way you're actually getting the performance benefits. In the corporate data center includes reduced network latency. Why network latency? If you're keeping one data center serving all over the world, then there will be network latency, obviously. Like, all connections are hitting one server and all over the globe, and that server also cannot scale up, as well as the network is also, response time will be high. That will not be good. So easy of upgradation to meet the on demand. So upgradation, actually, this is a huge headache in on-premise, especially when you have to upgrade. In-place upgradations are very risky. You have to build a standby server and with the same configurations with the latest softwares, all that, and migrate all the data to the new server. Once the new server is old server is migrated to the new server, old server is absolutely useless. So that kind of they are outdated again, so you have to throw it out. So once you move to the latest hardware, the old hardware is no more useful. That is again IT waste to the company. So if it is a cloud, you create another server in the cloud with the latest hardware and software, and you just migrate the data and destroy the old machine. It is not a scrap for you. Whatever the server you are using, you pay for that itself. The upgradation part also in the cloud, very easy and cost effective, especially because old servers, you're just decommissioning it, you're not paying for it. If it is your infrastructure, the hardware is outdated, you have to send it sell you have to give it to the scrap vendor, you have to pay for that. Again, you are giving a server to the scrap vendor, you have to pay him to destroy the server basically. So that's how the corporate work basically. You are actually easy of upgradation and migrations in the cloud, especially because of you can create a new server on demand and then migrate the data. Speed of, see, you are delivering the services at speed, of course. You're not wasting your time. Basically, if someone wanted a new server, you just go there and few clicks away, just server will get created and do whatever the installations you want to do and give it to the business. It's the speed of delivery is actually important. So agility in provisioning of computers resources through self-service on-demand feature enable flexible depressurized capacity planning. So see, if it is on-premise, if the data is keep growing, they'll have to keep buying the new storage and adding it to the existing infrastructure and then giving the storage all that. It is always headache. In the cloud, it's not like just give a number and save it, it'll automatically expand. There is nothing. You do the capacity planning. Even if you don't do the capacity planning, you don't need to plan for it. Just give the number and it will expand on demand basis. That's flexibilities. If it is on premise, you have to do like I need to buy 10 terabyte before it happens, not after happens. And that terabyte maybe after a year it will get used. Whole that period your storage is wasted. But in the cloud, it's not like that. Just give a number and hit save, automatically it will go to that point. So no pre-planned capacity planning should be done. On demand, you can expand the drives. If it is on premise, you have to keep the resources ready in the on-premise, though they are getting used or not getting used. 30% of the storage is always free with the company. Why? Because business, you cannot shut it down because of the storage outage kind of. Basically, they'll have the storage always like that. Enhance productivity. Obviously, when you're actually not wasting your time on this kind of activities, you can spend your time on automating something or doing some productive work for the company. Obviously, that can enhance your company productivity basically. Remove the need of racking and stacking hardware, software, patching, and IT teams spend time on achieving the more important business goals basically. Like they can excel in different areas. So one guy is working one technology, he might learn different technology also. The product can be, the resource can be capable of doing multiple technology because he has the time to learn, right? Because the kind of activities are reduced now in the cloud. So the person, that's why slowly the multi profile requirements are growing because of things are all getting automated. When things are getting automated, maintenance wise, at least people need to know multiple technologies to maintain it basically. This is a going ongoing trend. It will happen. Everybody should know at least two different technologies or three different technologies. Like it will happen. Why? Because the like automation is coming to the picture. When it is automation coming to the picture, lots of predefined activities, repeated activities will be automated. Not all, definitely not all activities, definitely not automated. There should be a human requirement, always will be there, but the resource must be skilled in multiple technologies. That is going to happen very soon. So be careful on that point. And reliability. Again, reliability is very important. I'm putting my data into the cloud. Is it actually safe? Is it actually recoverable? There will be many questions, right? So Microsoft has lots of data centers, guys, around the globe. If at all you look at, let me show this actually. Azure regions around the globe. Let's do this. They have covered almost all countries in the world. So Azure has the topmost infrastructure in the cloud. So if you look at 140 countries they covered, almost all countries, where the IT is actually getting used. So 54 regions and 140. What is region? What is actually the data center? We'll talk about this, guys. Regions, and 54 regions worldwide we have, and in 140 countries. Why 54 region? How come it can go up to 140? That is something I'm going to talk in the next classes. What is region? What is actually the how it is made up of. Basically, one single region is made up of many data centers basically. So if you look at here, the one data center is made, this data center is spanning across multiple countries border basically. So they'll actually keep some certain perimeter basically to treat as a single data center. Within the data center, there could be having 10 data center, one data center, hundreds of data centers. It matters how the demand is coming to that data center, that region basically. In India, we have three regions basically. Each region have made up of multiple data centers. If data centers are growing because of demand is growing like that in the single region. You cannot specify what data center you wanted, you can only specify a region. So what is region, what is data center, something we will talk when we start the operations. I'll clearly explain that there. So what I wanted to show is the cloud is there everywhere where the IT resources are getting used basically. Okay, so 54 regions, 140 countries, out of 190, 140 countries, they already have the cloud established already. They are actually, not only, to limited to this, they are growing globally. They are every year they are increasing the cloud power basically. If I go to the AWS, if you look at the AWS infrastructure is far less than the Azure infrastructure. Especially infrastructure wise, the Azure is the winner right now. Revenue wise, AWS is the winner. That you need to keep in mind, right? Because AWS started in 2006 actually. Officially the, Azure cloud was given to the end users in 2014. There is a 8 years gap. That's why AWS has more clients, especially because slowly people are moving from AWS to cloud, Azure cloud, because of the one thing I wanted to display, where it is pricing somewhere. Actually, why Azure is popular? There is a pricing model. Come on, here it is. So pay less with Azure. AWS is 5 times more expensive than the Azure. See, officially they have written on the official website basically. AWS is 5 times more expensive than Azure if you are using the Microsoft products. Microsoft products, if you are using on the Azure cloud, you will get 5 times benefit. So Microsoft has a lot many clients all over the globe. If all the Microsoft products come to the Azure, that's enough for the Azure basically. That's why Azure is getting, rapid growth in the market. They are giving lots of benefits to the existing clients who are using the Microsoft products, especially. That's something you need to keep in mind. Azure, AWS infrastructure, it has here. Infrastructure wise, infrastructure, if you compare, this has more regions and more coverage than the AWS has less regions, less infrastructure than the Azure especially. But the revenue wise, AWS is the top at the moment. 42% of the share with the AWS, 36% of the share with the Azure, roughly 7 to 8% with the Google Cloud. Rest of the people are very less, not even negligible. Market share wise and revenue wise I'm talking about especially. So infrastructure wise, Azure is a winner and AWS second. The revenue wise, the AWS is winner, Azure is second. It is only 8% behind. Maybe in the 1 year, over a year, the Azure will be the infrastructure wise also it is a winner, and the revenue also it will be a winner. So why it is growing, because of they're giving lots of benefits to the existing clients. Lots, it is giving the per minute billing, that is AWS is per hour billing. Even I use 1 minute, you have to pay for 1 hour in the AWS. In the Azure, 1 minute means 1 minute only. You have that kind of billing cycle in the Azure especially. So they are giving more discounts, benefits for bulk vendors basically. AWS is little bit coster compared to the Azure. So now all new business are coming to the Azure slowly, because they are giving lots of benefits to the clients who are especially using the Microsoft products basically. We are going to talk about when you are building a server, flat 50% discount will be applied if you have an on-premise licensing model. If you have already on-premise license, use that license in the cloud, then you'll get 49% flat benefit on the billing basically. We'll see all of that when we are when I'm going to create servers. I'm going to explain that option, how to get benefit of like that on-premise hybrid model, licensing model. That's something you need to know. Reliability means cloud has existence everywhere, and they are keeping your data in multiple data center as a DR. One copy is gone, other copy will be available to replicate, to recover your data. Whether you use it or not, that is up to you. If you don't use it, you'll have single point of failure. If you wanted to replicate your data to multiple regions, you have to pay extra, because they have given all the options for the recovery. Only thing is, you are going for more options, you'll get more and more bill, because you are consuming more and more infrastructure. As simple as it is. Reliability is why cloud has all mechanism to protect your data. What you use, what you have to pay, based on that you have to design your recovery. All that we'll see, all of that. There are many things, guys, for SQL server, for VMs. VM level replication is there, product level replication is there, everywhere replication is available. So everywhere, every layer has a protection. So in the cloud is highly reliable, and also it has many data centers within the region. They can replicate data into one to other data center seamlessly. You don't see that it is going to different data center, but they'll do it. Perform data backup, disaster recovery, business continuity easier and less expensive, as data can be mirrored at multiple redundant network sites basically around the globe. So cloud is absolutely reliable for data recovery as well as security wise. Security wise also, the cloud is absolutely secure enough as long as you are not building the weak NSGs, network security groups. If you are building your network security group properly, no one can hack your server in the cloud. Absolutely. On-premise, they might hack you because of WannaCry, all the, like that kind of, attacks was happen. Only cloud was, no cloud machine was attacked by the WannaCry. That time, all globe was affected, but not the cloud. Cloud is absolutely protected through many layers of security. As long as you are not defining loose security layers at your product level, that is a different story. How do we configure it, all the NSG groups? NSG, I am going to play two classes, guys. Networking concept is very important. How to protect the server in the cloud is something we have in the networking module. We are going to spend a lot of time. Okay, let's talk about the introduction to the cloud. I mean, sorry, different providers in the market. Microsoft Azure, Amazon AWS, Google Cloud, others. There are many people, guys. Roughly 20 cloud providers are there, but they are not full-fledged networks, or they don't have a full stabilized network, or else don't have a fully global scaled network. All that matters why they are not actually in the competition. So these three are the major contributors in the market, especially. Like Azure has a lot of scope because of the growth ratio graph is very rapid when it comes to the Azure. AWS has already really good established network, but the thing is they are not growing that rapid. The Azure is growing, especially. Google Compute is very less used cloud at the moment. Maybe in the future it might get used because of benefits they are going to give. They'll have to come up with the different solutions what these people are giving. So these two are matured services, they have stable and matured services they have. The Google is still actually under that journey basically. So let's talk about this. Yeah, why we need to learn Microsoft Azure over AWS is also good. I don't blame that, but still, growth ratio wise and openings wise and career wise, Azure has a good openings at the moment in the market. So all Microsoft products are absolutely user friendly. They are not complex. AWS is absolutely complex compared to the Azure. Azure is straightforward. All operations are straightforward. You can learn if you look at once or twice. But AWS is not like that. They have beat around the bush kind of. There are many operations, you are dependent on many things basically. Azure does not have straightforward single service will do all the operations. We'll see all of that. So it's a very user friendly, especially Microsoft products are always user friendly. They make the products like that. Any user should use their product. It's like that. Easy to learn and manage, especially like Microsoft products are like that. Rapid growth in the cloud computing. So this Azure cloud is growing very rapidly because of the features they are bringing in, and because of the offers they are giving to the Microsoft products clients especially. Those are two reasons, especially people in this Azure cloud is growing rapidly, especially more regions, more data center than any cloud provider in the market at the moment. More regions, more infrastructure than anyone, especially. Cost effective compared to other competitors. Of course, Azure is cheaper than the AWS when it comes to certain operations. Maybe some like some services Azure might be charging more, AWS is charging less. Some services, if you look at, Azure is charging more and less, and AWS is charging more. There are certain variations will always be there. That is a different story. But what are the proprietary product given by the Microsoft? Absolutely, they are cost effective. Like if you are going to the AWS, you are paying 5 times more than what you are paying for the Azure for the Microsoft products, which is good, right? So where you are saving lots of money. That's something should be taken care. Let's talk about the certification, guys. Certifications are very important right at the end. Like you have to gain some certification as a proof of concept, like you know cloud kind of. So before we had 70532 for developers, what we are going to discuss is implementing Microsoft Azure infrastructure solutions, architecting Azure, this thing, designing and implementing data platform. These two topics and certifications I'm going to cover in our course. This course actually before a year ago, the course was 70533 to gain this certification, and they split the certification into two parts again. AG 100, AG 101. If you wanted to gain the certification, you have to do two. If you already have done this, you can do this to get this one. But all these are gone now. Only one certificate they have introduced, which is called AG 103. If you do this, you will become Microsoft implementation infrastructure admin basically. So this is one certification you need to know if you are trying to do after this course. And then one more certification, 70473, designing and implementing cloud data platform solutions, Azure SQL. This is something I'm going to cover in detail especially. So as part of this course, what and all I'm going to cover. So there are many things I'm going to cover. So first, I'll cover the VM operations especially. So creation of Azure free account next class, implementing and managing the Azure networking. Then before that, I'll cover the VM operations, Windows operations, then networking, then virtual machine came for. It is actually the third. This is the fourth especially, and managing virtual machines and implementing Azure app services and planning and implementing storage backup. Storage is very, very important. Again, after the network VM operation, storage, and then first VM operations and the networking storage. That is a sequence we will follow. And implementing Azure SQL database. There are a lot of topics I'm going to cover. These are all points will be covered. Implementing Azure Active Directory integration, Azure automation, and cloud PowerShell. Actually, how do we manage the cloud resources using the PowerShell as well as CLI? I mean, I'm going to cover the Linux machines as well. How do we build the Linux machine? How do we manage the Linux machines? All that will be discussed in the whole course basically. So people who are coming from the SQL background, this course is going to help them really, in detail. Why? Because I'm also SQL DBA. I'm going to cover all SQL operations along with the infra operations. So this is kind of, demo I wanted to give. Anyone have questions here? Anyone wanted to ask anything? It could be related to this or something you have in your mind, just you can ask. And we'll talk on that and then close it off. Anyone, if anyone wanted to have any question, it's always like guys, you have audio to ask a question. You can also type a question. I'll keep watching this chart. I'll be answering every question and moving on. It's like that. It's not one-sided discussions. Always you just ask your question, I'll be answering the question and then moving on. It'll always be interactive. Keep the interactive things. Like if you have a question, just don't keep quiet. Ask it like this.
Ravindra Satish here.
Yeah, Satish.
I had a question. See, basically in Azure, uh,
Uh-huh.
is there any DR concept here? Because as you said, it is like there will be backups which are automated automatically in
Right,
Oracle
right.
PaaS,
Mhm.
and everything like we will be doing some DR drill kind of thing and all for testing purpose.
Yes, yes, yes.
So in
We
this
will. Yeah, go ahead.
in this scenario, if I mean, like in the live applications, how the testers will test in the application side, how we can test, because there will, if we opt for a single server And there will be no DR concept here, right? In the Azure.
DR is actually your server is protected with multiple backup copies. If your server is there, there are three backup, three database data is there. One, if one any of the database is corrupted, it is automatically recover from the other database in the background. So that is something taken care by completely in the background. It's not your job at all. DR is something if you wanted to do the testing, you can do the restores, you can test all that also, you can do it in the cloud.
Okay,
So
okay.
your
So
data
if
is
you want,
fully protected, multiple copies of your data. Duration is 35 days slot actually. 35 days will cover everything. Yeah, go ahead, Satish.
yeah, fine. So if they want to test the application, then they will be providing the what we'll call another backup where we can test it and we can.
Yeah, you can actually restore as a different database and give it to them if they wanted actually as any reason. So DR test, if you wanted to test whether the backups are working or not, they absolutely work. Why? Because the backups are there in three locations by default for PaaS. For VM is a
Yeah,
different story.
because
For
the
PaaS,
testing will be on the application, the testing will be IP based, right? So they will be changing the connection string and they will give the IP.
no, 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 no.
And
Why they will change actually? Why they will change? DR is something for us. Data is recoverable or not for DBA. It's not for the application. Application need the data always. That's it.
okay, 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 okay.
Yeah. Anyone have any more questions, guys? I guess some people contacts I don't have. And if you guys are SQL DBase, I'm going to cover each and every single point that we have in this, like cloud. Fees 14,000, guys. And it is absolutely worth because I'm going to cover all operations along with the SQL with infrastructure as well. Like Windows operations. Windows operation includes disk operations. How do we migrate the servers, how do you recover the server, how do you take the server backup, all automations I'll discuss. And networking, there are a lot of things you need to know as a SQL DB in the networking. Storage is especially, storage is always we use for the migrations, all operations storage is required. So storage will be used in many ways basically in the cloud. So that also will be discussed. Then SQL operations, then AD integration, then PowerShell automation. So all that we'll discuss. Automation means not automation, it's a maintenance. PowerShell, using the PowerShell, how do you manage the cloud infrastructure? All will be discussed in detail. You ask it, I'll discuss it as simple as it is. Nothing will be left. Because I'm working more than 4 years in this area.
Ravindra,
Sorry?
hello.
Yeah,
You know,
Vikas.
sorry. So can you
Go ahead, Vikas.
kindly brief about the certification thing? What is equally the nation of the three things which you have discussed? So,
Oh yeah,
what
actually, cloud certifications you have to do Azure SQL if you are a database, but people also will do this even SQL database because infrastructure is also should be familiar by the SQL database if you has to become a complete full-fledged infra admin, SQL admin because we interact with a lot of services in our environment. We do create the servers, we do maintain the servers from a SQL point of view because all SQL servers we itself manage basically. So there we have a full knowledge about implementing the Azure infrastructure solutions, Azure SQL as well. So it's up to you. Like this is something is an optional, but if this will fetch you great benefit if you have that certification, this is mandatory for SQL database basically. And this is something whatever they are going to cover in the exam, I'm going to cover 90% of the syllabus basically. 10% is theoretical in nature. I'll send the blogs to find out at the end what are the things you need to follow for the exam. Once the course is done, I'll send the links, just go through them, and before going for the exam, you can go through them basically.
thanks, man.
Yeah. Any questions, guys?
Ravi, regarding networking, how many days you will be taking the course?
Roughly 3 to 4 classes, 4 or 5 classes. Networking is a bit important concept in the cloud. Why? Because the communication, the like server to server, how they do talk, how do we open it, how do we secure the servers from to other to one to other is something dependent on network. That's why we'll spend a really good amount of time there. each and everything. NSGs are very, very important. Networks, how the each one network to other network will talk, subnets. How do we actually segment the network? How do we create the networks? So there are many things you need to know. And how do you configure the VPN? Like, how the VPN software will be built. How do we connect through the point to site? All that will be discussed in the part of networking. And load balancers like internal load balancer, external load balancer, auto scale set. There are many things in the networking basically, which are very important for us to understand. Because load balancer we will configure as a SQL DBA for the AG, always on configuration in the cloud. If you are configuring always on, you have to configure the load balancer. The load balancer is a different story. So that also will be discussed with the external load balancer, internal load balancer, geographic load balancer. There are 3 load balancer. All will be explained in detail. So just there is no prerequisite for this course except your attendance. If you attend, you'll get it everything as simple as it is.